When you hear nothing, do not be troubled. Do not mistake silence for denial. Silence is not the absence of movement. It is the evidence of a greater plan unfolding. In the quiet, the invisible is at work, shaping your world into the image of your desire. Many people become restless when they do not hear an answer, when no sign appears. They believe something is wrong, that life has turned against them. But the truth is, the moment you stop hearing noise from the outside, it is because something powerful is happening within. Creation does not announce itself with a trumpet. It works in silence. Think of the seed in the ground. Does it make a sound as it grows? Does it cry out as it becomes a tree? No. In complete silence, it pushes through the darkness, and suddenly one day it appears in full bloom. Your desire is the same. When you hear nothing, expect everything. That stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness concealed. Faith does not demand evidence from the senses. Faith operates in the unseen. When your outer world gives you no sign, your inner world must give you all assurance. Live now as if it is done. Do not wait for the phone call, the approval, or the opportunity to appear. Assume it has already arrived, for in truth it has. The greatest trap is panic during silence. Do not let doubt creep in. The silence after your prayer is not rejection. It is the divine rearrangement of reality. Everything is being placed perfectly, and when the time is right, what you desire will burst into your world without effort. So today, rest in the quiet. Celebrate the silence. When you hear nothing, expect everything, for that is the signal that the unseen world is working in your favor. Do not chase signs, be the sign. Walk in the assurance that what you asked for is already yours. The silence is not the end, it is the beginning of everything you dreamed of. Silence is not the absence of movement, it is the birthplace of creation. When you look around and see nothing changing, when you hear no answer, no sound, no sign, it is easy to believe that nothing is happening. But that is the greatest illusion. The truth is, when everything appears still, the deepest work is being done. Consider the seed buried in the soil. You cannot see its growth. It does not announce itself. There is no sound, no movement visible to your eyes. And yet, beneath the earth, a miracle is taking place. The seed is breaking open, roots are forming, and life is pushing forward. If you were to judge by what your senses reveal, you would say nothing is happening. But the unseen is far more powerful than the seen. In the same way, when you have set your intention, spoken your desire, and then hear only silence, do not despair. Silence is not rejection. Silence is the divine order at work. The world outside may appear unchanged, but the inner world, the true creative power, is busy arranging every detail for the manifestation of your desire. What you think of as delay is simply the perfection of timing. Creation does not rush. It works with precision, and precision requires silence. Most people become anxious in the quiet. They doubt, they fear, they start to question everything. Why isn't it happening? Did I do something wrong? Is this even possible? That inner noise is what delays manifestation. The silence is not a void. It is the fullness of possibility. But when you allow worry to take over, you fill that silence with resistance. The key is to trust the process completely. When you do not hear anything, remind yourself, everything is aligning. The people you need to meet, the opportunities that must appear, the circumstances that have to change, these are being woven together in ways your mind cannot yet comprehend. Just because you do not see the threads does not mean the tapestry is not being formed. The silence is where faith lives. Faith does not demand proof. Faith rests quietly, knowing the unseen is more real than the seen. In the stillness, your desire is growing roots. It is becoming strong enough to appear in your reality. If you disturb the soil every day to check on the seed, you kill its growth. The same is true for your dreams. Stop digging with doubt. Let the silence work for you. So when nothing seems to happen, rejoice. You are in the most powerful phase of creation. The silence is not empty, it is full. Full of life, full of energy, full of everything you desire, waiting for the perfect moment to unfold. Trust the quiet, for in it everything is aligning for you in ways you cannot yet see. Faith is not built on what the eyes can see or what the ears can hear. Faith is born in the invisible. The unseen world is the foundation upon which all visible things stand. Everything you can touch, hold, or experience first existed in a realm you could not perceive. Every building was once an idea. Every invention was once a thought. Every success was once only a dream. The invisible is not less real, it is more real, for it is the source of everything that appears. When the outer world is silent, when no signs appear and no evidence presents itself, that is the moment when faith must speak. Faith does not need proof, because proof belongs to the realm of the senses, and the senses are latecomers to reality. By the time you see it, creation is finished. Faith operates before the senses confirm. It accepts as true what cannot yet be touched, knowing that the unseen is already here. To trust in what is invisible requires a strength many do not understand. Most people place their confidence in what they can measure, calculate, or verify. But the invisible cannot be measured, and it does not ask for verification. It asks for certainty without evidence. That is why so few master it. Yet, if you can believe without seeing, if you can hold to the unseen while the outer world denies it, you align yourself with the greatest creative power. Think of the air you breathe. You cannot see it, yet it sustains your life. Think of gravity. You cannot hold it in your hands, yet it governs every movement. The most powerful forces are unseen. Likewise, the energy that shapes your reality is invisible. The thoughts you entertain, the feelings you nurture, the assumptions you hold, these are not visible to the eye, yet they mold the world around you. When the outer world is silent, it is tempting to doubt. You pray and hear nothing. You hope and see no sign. You declare and yet nothing changes. In that silence, faith becomes your only voice. Faith whispers, "It is done," even when everything outside screams, "Nothing is happening." That inner knowing is not wishful thinking, it is creative power at work. Do not be deceived by appearances. Appearances are shadows, and shadows cannot exist without substance. The substance of your desire is in the unseen, taking form, waiting for its appointed hour. The silence is not a sign of failure, it is a signal that what you seek is already moving toward you. So trust the invisible, trust it when the outer world is quiet, trust it when circumstances seem unchanged, trust it when every sense argues against you. For in the unseen, the answer already exists. Faith thrives there, not in what is visible, but in what cannot yet be seen. And when you hold to that unseen reality with unwavering conviction, the day will come when what was once invisible will stand before you in full form, undeniable and real. Delay is often misunderstood. Many believe that when something takes time, it means something is wrong, that the answer is denied, or that the dream is too far away. But the truth is, the delay is never a denial, it is a divine signal. When you hear nothing, when no sign appears and no change is visible, it does not mean your desire is lost. It means it is already in motion, aligning itself perfectly before it enters your world. Everything in life has an appointed hour. The tree does not bloom the day the seed is planted. The seed must first settle in the soil, break open, grow roots, and draw strength from the unseen before it pierces the ground and rises to the light. The same law governs your desires. You speak your intention, you imagine the outcome, and then there is silence. That silence is not emptiness. It is the sacred process of fulfillment unfolding in perfect order. The delay is not an obstacle. It is protection. If what you desire appeared before its time, it would come incomplete. The delay ensures that the conditions are right, that you are ready, that nothing is missing when it arrives. Think of a masterpiece being painted. From the first stroke, the artist sees the finished image, but the observer sees only scattered lines. If you interrupt the process too soon, you ruin the art. So it is with your life. The delay is the finishing touch of perfection. When nothing seems to happen, most people grow restless. They start to doubt, they give up, they speak words of fear and undo their own work. But those who understand the law of creation know that stillness is the greatest evidence of movement. The outer world may look unchanged, but the inner world is alive with activity. The energy has shifted. The reality is forming, and the manifestation is inevitable. So when you experience delay, rejoice. Do not fight it, do not question it. Let patience be your strength. Say within yourself, this silence means my desire is already on its way. For what you desire has already been accepted in the unseen, and the delay is simply the time required for it to take shape and come forth in beauty. Do not measure progress by what your senses reveal. The senses see only the surface. They cannot perceive the depth of what is taking place. Your desire is not lost in the void. It is being prepared in the silence. And when the time is right, it will break through suddenly, just as the seed bursts into a tree. So hold fast. The delay is the signal you have been heard. The silence is proof that the answer is secure. Trust it, for the day will come when what you waited for will appear. Not a moment too soon, not a moment too late, but in perfect time. When the world around you is silent and no sign appears, it is not the time to doubt. It is the time to turn inward. For imagination speaks louder than words. The outer world may withhold its response, but the inner world is never silent. It is always speaking, always shaping, always creating. If you hear nothing from the outside, it is because the real conversation is happening within you. Imagination is the true language of creation. Words can only describe, but imagination forms. When you imagine, you impress the unseen with the image of what you desire. You give it shape, color, and life. That image becomes the blueprint upon which reality is built. If you speak 1,000 words but fail to imagine, your effort is empty. But if you imagine vividly, even in complete silence, you have already set the law in motion. When the phone does not ring, when the message does not come, when the opportunity has not appeared, do not let the silence disturb you. Close your eyes and listen to the inner voice. See the end you long for as if it has already happened. Hear the words you wish to hear, not from another, but from within. Feel the reality of it so deeply that the outer silence becomes irrelevant. For in that inner experience, you are living the truth of your desire. The great error most people make is to wait for confirmation from the outside. They beg for a sign, a sound, an answer from the world. But the world can only echo what you have already declared within. If you have not claimed it inside, there is nothing for the outer to reflect. So stop waiting for someone else to tell you it is done. Tell yourself. See it in your imagination so clearly that it becomes more real to you than the physical world. Words are powerless without the feeling that imagination brings. You can say, I am successful 1,000 times, but if your imagination shows you failure, your words will fall to the ground. But if you speak the word in harmony with the image in your mind, if your imagination paints the picture, and you live inside it, then creation is certain. So when you hear nothing from the outside, rejoice. The silence is an invitation to go within, to speak the only language that matters, the language of images, the language of feeling. Assume it is done. Walk in that assumption until it feels natural, until the inner world is so alive that the outer world must conform to it. For imagination is not a dreamer's escape, it is the creative act itself. Everything begins there, and everything ends there. Therefore, trust your imagination more than your senses. For when the outer is silent, the inner is speaking louder than ever. And if you dare to believe what it whispers, the day will come when the world outside will echo exactly what you imagined within. Stillness frightens many people. When nothing moves, when no sound comes, when no sign appears, the human mind begins to panic. It whispers, something is wrong, nothing is happening, maybe I have been forgotten. But this panic is born of ignorance. For outer silence is not rejection, it is the quiet preparation of your desire in perfection. Everything in life moves through a period of stillness before it becomes visible. The night remains silent even as dawn approaches. The seed lies hidden in the earth, unseen and unheard, while within life is unfolding. If you judged by appearances, you would call the ground barren, but nature knows better. It trusts the process because it understands that silence is the season of becoming. When you have prayed, affirmed, imagined, and then entered a space where nothing seems to happen, you are in that sacred season. The forces of creation are arranging themselves in precision. Circumstances are shifting. Paths are being cleared. What you asked for is being perfected so that when it appears, it comes without flaw. If it arrived before its time, it would be incomplete, and incomplete blessings soon become burdens. The stillness ensures your good comes whole. Panic in this period is the enemy. When you let fear take root, you begin to disturb the soil of your own creation. You start doubting, speaking words of defeat, imagining failure, and with that you uproot the very thing that was growing for you. This is why trust is essential. Do not let your emotions dictate your belief. Outer silence is not the verdict, it is the preparation. Think of the most skilled artist at work. While the painting is unfinished, the strokes may look chaotic. If you saw the canvas too early, you might think it is ruined. But the artist knows the vision and works in silence to bring it forth. So it is with life. The creator within you works in stillness to arrange everything for your highest good. To interrupt the process with panic is to demand an unfinished picture. So what should you do in stillness? Rest. Trust. Assume that your desire is already accepted and is on its way. Say to yourself, this silence means perfection is unfolding. Nothing is wrong, everything is right. When you take this posture, the silence becomes your ally. It no longer feels empty, it feels full of invisible activity, full of unseen answers, full of the promise you have claimed. There is no need to beg, plead, or struggle. The seed does not force itself to grow. It simply abides in the stillness, knowing the season of harvest will come. You must do the same. Hold fast to the vision. Walk as if it were already so. And when the time is right, what was once hidden in silence will stand revealed, flawless and complete. Expectation is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It is the silent force that draws the invisible into visibility. When you stand in a moment of quiet, when nothing seems to be moving, that is the very time you must expect everything. The silence that unnerves so many is not a void. It is the stage upon which life rearranges itself to deliver your desire in perfect order. The universe operates with law and precision. Every desire you hold, every assumption you live in, sets a cause in motion. Once set, it must produce its effect. But the time between planting and harvest is filled with stillness. This is where most falter because they mistake silence for failure. They do not see the intricate web of events, people, and opportunities being woven together on their behalf. They forget that creation often hides its movements until the work is done. Expectation is the posture that keeps you aligned during this hidden activity. To expect is to know it is coming. It is to live in the assurance that what you desire is already yours in the unseen and will appear in the seen at the appointed time. Expectation is not passive waiting, it is active belief. It speaks without words, saying, "I know it is mine." It feels the joy of the answered prayer before the evidence arrives. When you expect, you do not look for signs with desperation. You see signs everywhere because your mind is tuned to the outcome. Expectation magnetizes you to opportunities and draws conditions into harmony with your vision. The moment you stop expecting, you break the connection. You push away what was already moving toward you. Consider the mother who expects a child. From the day she knows life has begun within her, she does not question whether it will come. She prepares, she makes room, she speaks as though the child is already here. That is the nature of true expectation. It anticipates without anxiety. It trusts the process, even in the silence, because it knows what is coming. So when everything is still, when no voice answers and no door opens, hold to expectation. Say within yourself, "This quiet means alignment. The universe is rearranging itself for me." Do not let fear take the throne. Let expectation reign. Feel as though the answer has already arrived, for in truth it has. Only time separates you from its appearance. The universe does not respond to need, it responds to certainty. Expectation is certainty clothed in patience. It does not plead or beg, it commands by knowing. And when you expect with unwavering faith, silence becomes a sacred sound, the sound of perfection being prepared for you. So expect everything in the stillness, for that is when everything is working for you, even though you cannot yet see it. Silence is not the end, it is the beginning of something greater than you can imagine. When you hear nothing, do not lose heart. Expect everything. Trust the unseen, hold to your vision, and remain still in faith. For in those quiet moments, life is not ignoring you. Life is arranging everything for you. What you desire is not far away. It is already yours, waiting for the perfect moment to appear. Walk in that confidence, rest in that assurance, and let the silence speak to you. Not of emptiness, but of fulfillment on its way. Thank you for listening, and remember this: when you hear nothing, expect everything. Your miracle is already here. Your life is about to change forever. Prepare for overflow. Close your eyes for a moment, not to escape, but to remember. The world you see outside is but the echo of your inner conviction. If you've been waiting for signs, for doors to open, for opportunities to arrive, the wait ends now. Because the truth is, your life is not changing, it has already changed, the moment you felt it within. Overflow isn't something you chase, it is something you align with. You don't become wealthy when the money shows up. You become wealthy when your spirit refuses to feel lack, when your mind no longer entertains limits, when you walk into the room knowing that you are the prize, not in arrogance but in deep spiritual recognition. The river of overflow is not found in your bank account but in your belief system. When you assume the reality of abundance, the world must comply. You are the author of your state. The script follows your self-concept. And so, the chaos you may feel, the collapse of relationships, the sudden ending of routines, that's not your life falling apart. That's your former identity breaking down. The universe is clearing out what can no longer hold the weight of your coming greatness. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Prepared for overflow. Prepared for favor. Prepared for a life so full it will not make sense to the person you used to be. So walk today, not by sight, but by the inner knowing that your destiny is not in front of you, it is within you. Feel the shift. Speak the truth of it. Act as if it's already done. You were never waiting for the overflow. The overflow was waiting for you to become the vessel big enough to hold it. Now you are. Your life doesn't shift because circumstances change. Circumstances change because you did. The new life you desire begins the moment you assume it is already yours, in consciousness. Everything you experience in the outer world is an echo of your inner belief. The world is not happening to you, it is happening through you. And this truth, when fully accepted, becomes the foundation for total transformation. It is not action, luck, or external force that reshapes your life. It is the unseen act of assumption, the quiet decision to occupy the feeling of the wish fulfilled, that sets your world ablaze with change. Most people wait for a sign to believe, a result to feel secure, a door to open to feel chosen. But this is the reverse of the creative process. Life mirrors you. It does not lead you. It reflects the image you hold of yourself in the secret chamber of your imagination. The person who believes they are unloved, unsuccessful, or stuck will continuously find the world offering them proof of that belief. But the moment that same person dares to assume a new identity, to feel chosen, to feel prosperous, to feel worthy, the script begins to rewrite itself. You must not wait for evidence. You are the evidence. Your inner ascension is the cause. The outer condition is merely the delayed effect. When you truly change the conception of yourself, all things in your reality begin to bend to that new image. No force on earth can prevent the appearance of that which you already claim as yours in consciousness. If you are still looking outward to see if it is working, you are missing the point. The power is not in watching. The power is in being. The person who assumes wealth doesn't check their bank account every hour to confirm it. They walk in the mental atmosphere of abundance. They think abundantly. They dress, speak, and expect as if the wealth has already arrived. And because their inner state has changed, their outer world must reflect it. This is not about pretending. It is not delusion. It is alignment. It is spiritual authority. It is choosing to live from the end, not toward it. The moment you feel yourself to be the version of you that already possesses the desire, the work is done. The invisible shift has occurred, and everything visible must now rearrange itself to match it. So stop asking how it will come or when. That is not your concern. Your only task is to be it, to embody it, to remain loyal to the unseen image that lives within you. The world will respond. The people will show up. The opportunities will arrive. Not because you chased them. Circumstances are powerless unless you give them meaning. But your assumptions, they are the seed of all things. Plant them wisely, nourish them daily, and watch as the world reflects the garden you've grown inside. Change your assumption and you will change your world forever. Overflow is not money, fame, or success arriving first. It is the inner flood of conviction that nothing is missing. When you feel full, life mirrors that fullness in ways you cannot imagine. We are often taught that abundance is something to chase, that it lives somewhere out there, tied to numbers, titles, or recognition. But true overflow is not the accumulation of material things. It is the vibration of wholeness that begins inside you. It is not something you acquire. It is something you remember. The world around you can only echo what you believe yourself to be. If you feel empty, you will walk into rooms and see rejection, scarcity, and delay. But if you feel full full of gratitude, of faith, of quiet knowing that all is already well, then life responds by offering more of what already lives inside you. Once you learn this, you will learn. This is why some people attract blessings effortlessly, while others struggle despite hard work. The difference is not effort, it's embodiment. It's the inner reality they have made more real than what their five senses can currently perceive. When you overflow internally, life bends to reflect that abundance. You must realize you are not waiting for overflow. You are delaying it every time you believe it is not yet yours. The moment you stop searching and start feeling it, you call it forth. It cannot be withheld from one who walks in the energy of sufficiency. The door doesn't open because you knock harder. It opens because you know you belong on the other side. People think overflow means excess, but spiritually, overflow is the complete absence of lack. It is not how much you have, but how little you need to prove your worth. It is the unwavering belief that you are safe, loved, guided, and chosen, regardless of what the world appears to say. From that state, you become magnetic. Your energy speaks before your words. Your calm becomes a command. Your peace becomes power. So stop saying, "I'll feel abundant when the money comes." Say instead, "The money comes because I already feel abundant." This reversal is the secret. You are the signal. The universe is the echo. You set the tone, and life follows. You are not here to beg for overflow. You are here to expect it, to live in such harmony with it that it has no choice but to manifest. The only thing that has ever separated you from what you desire is the belief that it was ever outside you to begin with. So go within. Feel the fullness. Dwell in the unseen wealth of your being. Recognize that you lack nothing. Not love, not purpose, not destiny. All is present. All is complete. All is available now. And from this inner flood of certainty, the outer world must mirror your truth. Overflow begins within. Anchor yourself there. The rest will follow. You will never rise above the image you hold of yourself. When you see yourself as blessed, abundant, favored, unstoppable, the law of life must arrange itself to reflect that identity. Everything in your life flows from one silent, powerful place, your self-concept. The image you hold of yourself, not what you say out loud, but what you believe in the quiet moments, is the mold through which life is poured. It is the root. All effects, all experiences, all conditions are simply branches growing from it. You do not get what you want. You get what you are, and what you are is determined by who you believe yourself to be. This belief is the law's only instruction. The law does not argue. It does not reason. It does not take sides. It simply reflects. Like a mirror, it gives you a perfect reproduction of the idea you have claimed as your truth. You have to claim it as a truth. If you see yourself as limited, stuck, small, or broken, life will bend to support that view. If you see yourself as abundant, powerful, and deeply worthy, life will rise to confirm it. Not because you forced it, but because your inner state leaves no other choice. The outer world must follow the inner one. That is the law. Many people change their actions, their habits, their routines, but never change the one thing that truly matters, their identity. They pray for miracles while secretly believing they are undeserving. They write affirmations with their mouth, but contradict them in their self-talk. The law does not respond to what you say once, it responds to what you are consistently. This is why the shift must be internal. You must decide who you are, and then persist in that decision. It will feel unnatural at first. Your old self-concept will scream for attention, will try to pull you back into familiar patterns of lack, fear, and doubt. But your job is not to fix the old. It is to embody the new, to become the version of you that already has it, already is it, already knows it's done. When you adopt the identity of someone who is favored by life, who walks in divine timing, who is always in the right place at the right time, everything begins to rearrange itself to match that vibration. People respond to you differently, opportunities present themselves, doors open, not because the world changed, but because you did. This is the quiet miracle of self-concept. The moment you see yourself differently, the world sees you differently too. So don't try to manipulate circumstances. Don't chase after results. Go deeper. Change the cause. Change you. Think, speak, walk, and breathe as if you are already the person you wish to become. See yourself as blessed, as abundant, as chosen, as unstoppable. Persist in that identity until the world cannot help but agree with you. That is how the law works. That is how change becomes permanent. You will never rise above the image you hold of yourself. So raise it and watch the world rise with you. Don't panic when things begin to fall apart. That is the crumbling of the former you. It is a holy unraveling, a divine undoing. The birth pains of a new world that is about to overwhelm you with good. We are taught to fear endings. We resist the collapse, the closing chapters, the silence that follows what once felt secure. But when you begin to shift internally, when you adopt a new self-concept, when you assume a higher identity, the life that was built around the old version of you can no longer remain. It must fall. It must dissolve. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Everything that is not aligned with the new must leave. This includes people, places, patterns, and even opportunities that once felt like blessings. When things seem to be slipping away, don't reach for them in desperation. Understand that it is the law in motion. Realignment in progress. What you call chaos is really liberation. What you call chaos is divine order being restored. You prayed for a new reality. You imagined yourself abundant, loved, chosen, favored. But that version of you cannot exist within the old framework. The world you once knew is based on the assumptions and energy of who you used to be. Now that you've decided to rise, the scaffolding of your former life is collapsing. And it has to, because the new world that is coming cannot be built on the weak foundation of your past self. This is why the in-between feels so intense. It's the death of what was and the labor of what is being born. It's uncomfortable, it's confusing, but it's sacred. Don't try to stop the unraveling. Don't tape together what was meant to break. Let it go. The version of you that clings to familiarity cannot hold the abundance meant for the version of you that trusts the process. When the job ends, the relationship shifts, the door closes. Pause. Don't panic. Ask yourself, who am I becoming? What is life clearing space for? Because something is coming. It always does. Nature abhors a vacuum. When the old leaves, the new must enter. But it only enters for the one who is not afraid to let go. You are not being abandoned, you are being upgraded. The universe doesn't destroy, it rebuilds. But it must tear down what cannot carry the weight of the future you've chosen. And though the dismantling feels like darkness, it is actually light in disguise. It is divine love, doing for you what you cannot do for yourself. You ask for more. This is what more looks like before it becomes visible. So hold still, breathe, trust. This is not your ending. This is your rebirth. The old must collapse to make way for the new. Let it. You are not asked to hope for change, you are asked to embody the change. Walk, talk, and think from the place of already having it, and the physical will bow to the spirit. Faith is not wishful thinking. It is not sitting quietly and hoping something shifts. Faith is bold. It is daring. It is assuming the reality of what the world has not yet confirmed. Faith is living from the invisible with such certainty that the visible has no choice but to catch up. You are not being tested to see how long you can wait. You are being invited to become the version of you that already has what you desire. That version does not beg, does not plead, and does not worry. That version knows. It carries a calm, inner confidence that the seed planted in spirit must produce fruit in form. When you live by faith, you reverse the world's rules. The world says, I'll believe it when I see it. But the truth is, you will see it when you believe it. Your assumption creates your experience, not the other way around. So many delay their blessings because they are still asking when or how. But the law does not respond to timelines or logic. It responds to identity. It responds to the one who decides, I am already what I seek. That decision, held long enough, bends reality. Faith is not passive. It is a posture. It is the invisible agreement you make with the unseen that says, I trust the process more than the appearance. I trust the vibration more than the facts. I trust the end result more than the present delay. You are not required to force anything. You are required to become it. If you want love, you must live as if you are already deeply loved. If you want wealth, you must embody the version of yourself who feels wealthy, generous, confident, secure. If you want healing, you must carry yourself as whole, restored, vibrant. The outer world follows the inner reality, never the other way around. To embody the change is to commit to it before anyone applauds you, before any evidence shows up, before anything makes sense. It is to walk into a room as the person who already has the answered prayer. Not because you're pretending, but because you know the spiritual is more real than the temporary illusion of lack. The greatest faith is not shouting or begging or striving. It is quiet inner knowing. It is silent conviction. It is the walk that says, I have already received, while the world still sees nothing. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith calls things forth from the unseen realm into the physical world. That kind of faith rewrites futures. So stop waiting, stop wondering, begin walking. Begin thinking and acting as the one who already has it. Your job is not to make it happen. Your job is to become the proof before the manifestation. The physical will bow to the spiritual. Because faith is the evidence before the manifestation ever arrived. You are not a victim of life. You are the initiator of it. Prepare for overflow by becoming the person who lives in it now. Life will echo your decision with abundance. There is a moment in every journey when you must stop pointing to the outside and start claiming the power within. That moment is now. The world you see is not something happening to you, it is responding to you. It takes its shape based on the mold of your assumptions, your self-concept, your decisions. You are not here to wait and react. You are here to create. Too many live as if life is a series of accidents and events they must survive. But you were never meant to survive life, you were meant to design it. The moment you realize that you are the cause, not the effect, everything changes. Your language changes, your posture changes, your expectations change. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what in me is ready to shift so that my life reflects the truth of who I am. Overflow does not chase people. It is drawn to those who expect it, those who embody the feeling of fullness before it arrives. You cannot beg for abundance while believing yourself to be empty. You must decide you are full. You must walk, speak, think, and live as someone who carries the vibration of overflow long before it becomes visible. Your inner world is the command center of your reality. What you accept as true about yourself will echo into your relationships, your finances, your health, your surroundings. If you see yourself as lacking, unworthy, or unlucky, the law of life will support that image. But if you decide, I am chosen, I am favored, I am provided for, then all things begin to organize around that decision. That's not ego, that's alignment with spiritual truth. It is not arrogance to believe you are powerful. It is actually humility to understand that the divine works through you, and you are here to be a conscious participant in your own becoming. You are the vessel through which life flows. The faucet doesn't beg for water. It simply opens. Likewise, you don't need to strive for overflow. You need to become open to it. This begins now, right where you are. You don't need to wait until the conditions are perfect, or the bank account is full, or the applause arrives. Life is not waiting on anyone or anything but you. The moment you choose to embody the state of abundance, overflow must begin to flow into your world. You are the cause, you always have been. So stop rehearsing the story of being a victim. Stop looking backward. Stop blaming others or circumstances. Nothing outside of you has more power than what's inside of you. You are the initiator. You are the doorway. You are the spark. Live today as the person who already walks in overflow, and life will echo your decision with clarity and certainty, because the law of life responds not to your hopes, not to your fears, but to your assumption. You are not waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to take your rightful place as the cause. Your life is no longer waiting to change, it is already in motion. The seeds have been planted in your consciousness, and overflow is not a distant dream but a present truth, unfolding from within. You now understand. The world doesn't transform first, you do. And once you rise in self-concept, in faith, in inner fullness, life has no choice but to rise with you. The breaking apart was not your end, it was your rebirth. You are no longer a victim of your past, but the cause of your future. The law responds to the person you believe you are, not the one you used to be. So carry yourself like it's already done. Walk like you are already blessed. Think from the overflow, feel it before you see it, and soon you'll see it everywhere. Prepare yourself. Not by waiting, but by becoming. Because your life is about to change forever. And this time, it's not luck, it's alignment. Sincerely thank you for choosing to listen, for choosing to awaken, and most importantly, for choosing yourself. There is a version of you beyond fear, beyond waiting, beyond lack, who already lives in luxury, ease, and divine abundance. This isn't wishful thinking, it is remembrance. You were not born to struggle, to toil endlessly for scraps of freedom. You were born wealthy in consciousness. And when you reclaim that inner wealth, the world must mirror it. You see, the mansion, the freedom, the flowing bank accounts, these are all shadows cast by a powerful light. your imagination. Do not wait for evidence. Do not seek signs. Become the sign. Feel it now. What does it feel like to be wealthy? Not someday, but now. Not in a distant future, but in this very breath. Feel the silk of success wrapping around your soul. Walk in the still confidence of a person who no longer needs to prove themselves. You no longer ask for money, you expect it. You no longer pray from lack, you thank from fulfillment. The great secret is not to get, but to be. To be the one who has already received. The world responds not to effort, but to identity. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you are. So what are you being today? Are you being scarcity? Are you rehearsing failure in your mind, clothing yourself in doubt? Then that shall be your harvest. But the moment you clothe yourself in the consciousness of the millionaire and remain faithful to that state, all things must bend to it. Don't concern yourself with how. The universe doesn't need your help figuring out the method. Your only duty is to assume the end and live from it. Make no room for someday. Make no space for waiting. This is not about becoming. It is about being. Dwell in the state of the fulfilled desire. Refuse to move from it. And the world, though slow to your eyes, will eventually rise and reflect the wealth you've claimed within. Live as the millionaire you are, not because of what's in your bank account, but because of what's in your imagination. And the world will follow. Because it must. Before the world ever told you who you were supposed to be, before it placed labels upon you, poor, average, limited, you were already rich in spirit. Your very essence, your true identity, was born out of abundance. Not the kind that chases wealth, but the kind that knows wealth is a natural extension of being. There was no concept of lack, no concept of struggle. These are teachings that came later, taught to you by a world asleep to its own power. You were not created to earn your worth. You are worthy. You were not placed on this earth to strive endlessly for what you already possess within. The desire for more, for greater freedom, beauty, ease, and expansion, this desire is not greedy. It is divine. It is memory rising to the surface, whispering, you are made for more because you already are more. But somewhere along the path you forgot. You learned to shrink. You began to believe that abundance was earned through suffering, that only the few were chosen, and that perhaps wealth was not meant for you. Yet even in your doubt, even in your lowest moment, something within you still stirred, a flicker of truth that refuses to be silenced. That flicker is the memory of who you truly are. You see, the millionaire within you is not some version you must fight to become. It is the version you must awaken to again. It's not a dream you're reaching for. It's a homecoming to what already exists inside you. This version of you does not beg. It does not chase. It simply knows. It breathes with ease. It walks with certainty. It gives without fear and receives without guilt. The problem is not your desire for wealth. The problem is your belief that it's separate from you, that it lies far ahead in a future you haven't earned. But in truth, you are not here to earn abundance. You are here to reveal it. And the moment you stop arguing for your limitations and start remembering your spiritual inheritance, everything begins to shift. You begin to speak differently, not from need, but from authority. You no longer ask, will I ever have it? Instead, you say, it is mine now. You don't wait for external evidence to confirm your worth. You move, dress, speak, and choose as one who already has, because you do. This world will reflect your assumption. It has no choice. It is obedient to the image you hold of yourself in the silence of your mind. When you return to the self that was never afraid, never small, never in doubt, you return to power. Not the kind that controls, but the kind that creates. So let go of the struggle. Let go of the lies you were taught about what you must do to deserve more. You were born rich in spirit. That was your original truth. Your job is not to become a millionaire. It is to remember that you already are. Abundance was never outside of you. It was always within, waiting patiently for you to see it again. And once you do, the world must rearrange itself to match the truth you've claimed. The wealth you seek is not somewhere out there waiting to be found. It already exists in the unseen, in the invisible workshop of your mind. Imagination is not idle daydreaming. It is the sacred blueprint of your future. Every fortune, every mansion, every success story began not with action, but with vision. And not just any vision, a felt vision, a vision so alive, so saturated with belief that it could no longer remain hidden. You were given imagination not as an escape from reality, but as the power to create it. It is through imagination that we rewrite the story the world insists we must live. You do not need to wait for the world to give you permission. You only need to close your eyes, turn inward, and construct with feeling. The mind does not know the difference between what is imagined vividly and what is real. When you see yourself living in wealth, when you feel the keys in your hand, the breeze on your skin as you step onto the balcony of your dream home, the joy of seeing your bank account overflow, your subconscious accepts it as fact. And once accepted, it begins the quiet, invisible work of aligning circumstances, nudging opportunities, attracting people, and dissolving blocks. The reason most never become wealthy is not because they lack opportunity, but because they never truly see it for themselves. They imagine more struggle than success, more doubt than certainty. They allow logic to silence the language of spirit. But you are not bound to the scene. You are not trapped by current conditions. You are the architect, and imagination is your pencil. To imagine vividly is to possess. To feel it as real is to claim it. Do not underestimate this power. The world is not moved by effort alone. It is moved by belief, and belief begins in the unseen. The moment you say, "I am wealthy," your current bank account may argue. The outer world may present its limitations, but you must not surrender to appearances. Appearances are echoes of old thinking, old assumptions. You are now planting a new image. Let it grow. Visit your vision often, not with desperation, but with certainty. Feel the joy of the wealth you have imagined. Spend time there. Live from it. When you rise in the morning, imagine your day as the millionaire you are. When you walk, carry the posture of one who owns, not one who begs. Speak as one who has already arrived. You will be tempted to look for signs, for confirmation. But the confirmation is the feeling. That inner knowing is the seed. Trust it. Water it daily with focus and gratitude. Let the world catch up. Everything you desire already exists, but it must first be received within before it can appear without. You do not force reality, you impress it. And imagination is the tool. Hold the image, feel the reality, and refuse to waver. This is not about fantasy. It is about remembering your creative power. You are not imagining to escape life. You are imagining to design it. And once you accept that your inner vision is the beginning of your outer riches, you will stop waiting for the world to change and start creating the one you were always meant to live. Stop trying to become rich. Stop reaching, striving, and hoping for a future that always seems just beyond your grasp. The more you chase it, the more it escapes you. Why? Because you are still moving toward the goal instead of living from the state. There is a profound difference between the two. When you live towards something, you affirm that it is not here, you separate yourself from it. But when you live from it, you declare that it is already yours. True wealth does not begin in your wallet. It begins in your awareness. It begins in your assumption. To be rich in mind is to claim your place now, not later. You must embody the version of yourself who already has the wealth, who no longer doubts, who no longer questions if or when, but simply lives in the fullness of the answered prayer. This is not pretending, this is aligning, this is shifting your identity. You are not playing make-believe, you are returning to your natural state. Wealth is not something you acquire, it is something you remember. And when you remember, you begin to express it in every detail of your life. Think like the wealthy you. What thoughts would occupy your mind if you knew everything was already taken care of? You would not dwell on fear, you would not worry about lack. You would make decisions from confidence, not hesitation. So, do that now. Walk like the wealthy you. How would you carry yourself if you lived in total financial freedom? You wouldn't slump or rush. You would walk with presence, with calm assurance. Practice that posture. Dress like the wealthy you. Not in extravagance, but in dignity. Wealth is not loud, it is composed. Choose clothes that make you feel elevated, even if they are simple. This is not about price, it's about energy. Speak like the wealthy you. Eliminate the language of desperation from your mouth. Stop talking about how expensive everything is, how hard money is to earn, how far your dreams feel. Speak only as one who already possesses. Let your words declare your wealth even before the world sees it. And most importantly, expect like the wealthy you. You must expect your reality to bend, not because you are forcing it, but because it has no other choice. Reality is obedient to your dominant inner state. When you live as if, consistently and boldly, the world rearranges itself to meet your assumption. This is the secret. The goal is not to get rich, it is to be rich. And once you are rich in consciousness, the outer riches must follow. They are merely reflections of who you've chosen to be. So stop waiting, stop preparing, begin. Begin now, not tomorrow. Adopt the state, live from it, and remain loyal to it, even when the outside world offers no confirmation. It will, but only after you've refused to move. Your world must conform because consciousness creates reality. And when you live from the state of wealth, the world cannot help but mirror back to you the riches you've already claimed within. There is no need to chase money. The moment you chase something, you declare with your energy that it is separate from you, that it's distant, elusive, and not yet yours. But the great paradox is this. The moment you stop chasing and instead assume the feeling of already having it, the very thing you once pursued begins to pursue you. You don't need to plead with the universe, it is not deaf. It has already heard you. Your desires were never ignored. They were planted like seeds the moment you imagined them. But begging, hoping, and doubting only keep them buried. What brings them to life is a simple, quiet, powerful shift. Assuming the state of the wish fulfilled. Feel now what it would feel like to have it, not to want it, not to be on your way to it, but to already possess it. What would your mornings feel like if you were a millionaire? What emotions would fill your chest? Would there be relief, peace, joy, confidence? Would you breathe more deeply, sleep more easily? That's the doorway. That's the state. Step into it, not someday, but now. To assume the feeling is not to pretend or to fake it, it is to embody it. It is to accept with quiet conviction that your desire is real and fulfilled in the unseen. The world may not yet show the evidence, but within, it is done. And that inner reality will, without fail, shape the outer world to match. Most people sabotage their manifestations because they feel one thing and affirm another. They speak of wealth but feel fear. They visualize millions but embody doubt. The universe doesn't respond to words. It responds to the emotional signature behind them. Your job is to create that emotional signature now. To live in the atmosphere of your fulfilled desire. This is why you must rest in certainty, not the frantic certainty of forcing outcomes, but the calm certainty of knowing that what you seek is already yours. It's already assigned to you. You do not need to manipulate time, people, or circumstances. You only need to remain loyal to the feeling of already having it. Close your eyes and feel the wealth. Feel the luxury, the freedom, the joy, not because you are trying to get it, but because this is who you are now. You are no longer becoming, you have become. That is the frequency that attracts. That is the energy that reshapes your world without effort. You will find that money, opportunities, connections, and ideas begin to flow with ease, not because you chase them, but because they recognize you. They are drawn to the vibration of fulfillment. They are magnetized by your inner wealth. So be still. Let go of striving. Let go of proving. Assume the feeling of already having it, and do not step out of that state. Let your every action, thought, and word flow from that place. Because once you are it in consciousness, it must be reflected in reality. This is not magic, it is law. And when you trust the law, you no longer need to chase. You simply allow what's already yours to arrive. Look around you. Everything you see, touch, experience, it is not the cause of your inner state. It is the effect. Your outer reality is simply echoing your inner self. It is not the world that shapes you, but you who shapes the world through your self-concept. You are not a passive observer of life. You are the projector. And life is the screen reflecting the film playing in your mind. If you feel poor inside, if you identify with lack, with unworthiness, with fear, then no amount of effort will override that inner broadcast. You may try to earn more, work harder, or network wider, but if your internal dialogue still whispers, "I'm not enough," or "it's hard to receive," the world must reflect that story. It cannot do otherwise. But here's the miracle. The moment you shift your self-concept, the moment you see yourself differently and feel yourself differently, reality begins to rearrange itself. It is not slow. It is not distant. The change begins immediately, not always in visible form, but in structure, in energy, in alignment. The universe bends to identity. You are not required to fight circumstances. You are only required to reimagine yourself, not just with words, but with feeling. Identity is not an affirmation, it is a state. And the state you occupy determines the world you experience. You must ask yourself, who am I being right now? Am I being someone who has or someone who lacks? Someone who expects goodness or someone who braces for disappointment? The mirror of life can only reflect what you assume to be true about yourself. This is not punishment. It's law. And once you understand it, you are no longer a victim of what is. You become the author of what's to come. To change your life, you must change your conception of yourself. If you want wealth, you must stop thinking like someone trying to get rich and start being someone who already is. The rich don't ask for permission to be comfortable. They don't shrink from opportunity. They don't wait for validation. And when you take on that energy, that self-image, your external conditions have no choice but to align. It doesn't matter what your bank account says today. What matters is what your inner account holds. Fill that with the feeling of abundance. Let your thoughts, decisions, and reactions come from the version of you who knows they are already blessed. You will find the outer world responding differently. Doors will open, ideas will appear, people will approach, not because you chase them, but because your new identity called them in. You are never stuck. You are never trapped by circumstances. You are only ever experiencing the results of who you're being internally. Redefine that, and you redefine everything. So if you want to change your life, don't look outside, look within. Speak to yourself as the wealthy, loved, confident, powerful being you truly are. Live in that state, feel it in your bones, claim it with certainty, and reality, as it always does, will echo it back. Faith is not hoping, faith is not wishing, faith is loyalty, unyielding, unshakable loyalty to the unseen reality you have chosen to believe in. It is the inner knowing that what you have imagined, felt, and claimed within will one day stand before you in physical form. But until that day comes, you must hold your ground. You must remain steadfast, because the real test is not whether you can believe once you see it, but whether you can see it within before the world gives you any proof. The mind conditioned by the world demands evidence first. Money in the bank, signs in the sky, people telling you it's possible. But the truth is, wealth appears only after you've believed in it internally. That belief, that faith, is the seed. And like any seed, it must be protected during its silent, invisible phase of growth. Keep your inner conviction alive even when your current circumstances scream the opposite. Even when you are surrounded by lack, bills, or uncertainty, do not abandon the vision. Because it is during that silence, that emptiness, that the new reality is forming. It is being shaped by your persistence in belief, your refusal to collapse under the weight of what currently is. This is what separates those who manifest effortlessly from those who struggle for years. The ones who manifest do not need physical confirmation to believe. They already know who they are and what belongs to them. They rest in that knowing. They don't panic when things appear to go wrong, because they understand a deeper law, first consciousness, then confirmation. If you wish to live in wealth, in abundance, in freedom, you must become loyal to that version of yourself in consciousness before it ever materializes. You must speak as that version, think as that version, react as that version, even when the world offers no applause, no reward, and no validation. That is faith. And make no mistake, faith is not passive. It is active, intentional, and deeply powerful. Faith holds the line. It says, though I walk through the valley, I will not fear, for I know what I carry within. The outer world may delay, but it cannot deny a persistent inner reality. So do not be discouraged when you see nothing. That silence is not a failure. It is a sign that your faith is being refined. Stay loyal to the unseen. Continue to water your inner vision with gratitude, confidence, and expectancy. Let your inner world become so vivid, so alive, that it becomes more real to you than anything outside of you. Eventually, reality must yield, it must conform, not because you forced it, but because you remained faithful. You didn't shift with the winds. You stood in the unseen long enough for the seen to catch up. So remember this: you do not need to see it to believe it. You must believe it to see it. And when you do, when your loyalty to the unseen becomes stronger than your fear of the unknown, wealth will appear not as a surprise, but as the natural outpouring of a truth you never stopped believing. You were never meant to struggle your way into wealth. You are meant to remember it. Wealth is not something you chase. It is something you awaken within. When you live as the millionaire you're destined to be, you no longer act from lack or desperation. You think, walk, and speak from a place of inner certainty. You stop striving toward the goal and begin living from the state of fulfillment. By assuming the feeling of already having it, by imagining vividly, and by staying loyal to the unseen reality, you command the world to respond. Not through effort, but through embodiment. Your reality is a mirror. When you change your inner self, the world must follow. So stop waiting. Don't ask for permission. Step into the identity of the one who already has. And when you do, life will rise to meet the power you've chosen to embody. Saying thanks. Thank you for listening with an open heart. May you walk in the fullness of your power, claim the wealth that is already yours, and live boldly from the truth that you are never lacking, only remembering. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine, not a distant hope, not a someday fantasy, but now, imagine, just for this breath, that you are already living the life you desire. The millions are already yours. You are not asking, you are not begging, you are not chasing, you are being. You walk into a room, not with desperation, but with quiet certainty. The kind of certainty that wealth brings, not just in the bank, but in the soul. You carry yourself differently. Your choices shift. Your energy speaks before you do. You no longer wonder if the money will come. You know it already has, and from that knowing, you act. You no longer hoard your faith for later. You spend it now, lavishly. You speak with authority, move with confidence, and rest in assurance. Not because you saw the evidence, but because you created it. You see, the world responds not to your effort, but to your assumption. What you assume to be true within yourself becomes the foundation of your reality. Assume wealth, and the world must clothe itself in richness to match your state. Assume lack, and even gold will wither in your hands. Your world is your mirror, and that mirror never lies. So start small if you must. Choose your thoughts like you would choose a tailored suit. Speak to yourself like a millionaire would. Feel what it would feel like to have no financial worry. Not for a second, but for a lifestyle. Make wealth a permanent resident in your imagination. And don't wait to feel good when it arrives. Feel good now, because it has arrived. Inwardly. The outer world is simply catching up. Let your days be filled with the richness of gratitude, the calm of confidence, and the strength of unshakable knowing. Walk in faith, not by sight, and watch the money, the opportunities, the miracles come to you like rivers returning to the ocean. Live as if you already have millions, and see what happens. The result will not just surprise you, they will obey you. Every great transformation in life begins not with the world outside of you, but with the world within. The truth is simple yet profound. Your imagination is the blueprint of your reality. It is the silent architect of your experiences, shaping your world moment by moment, whether you are aware of it or not. It is not just some fanciful tool reserved for children or creatives. It is the divine instrument by which your entire life is formed. You are always imagining something. Even now, as you read these words, your mind is forming images, emotions, stories, impressions of what could be. Most people imagine unconsciously, reacting to what they see, what they hear, what they fear. But there is a power in conscious imagination that surpasses anything action alone could ever achieve. What you consistently imagine yourself to be, you will inevitably become. That is law. Consider the inner conversations you have every day. The quiet whispers of, "I'm not ready," "It's too late," "I don't have enough," or "I always struggle." These statements are not harmless. They are seeds planted in the soil of your subconscious. And what you plant must grow. So if you continue imagining yourself as someone who lacks, who waits, who chases, who suffers, the world will conform to that version of you because it has no choice. It is your servant. It simply reflects the image you hold within. The secret is that nothing changes outwardly until it is first changed inwardly. People try to change their circumstances with force, effort, and hustle. But the outer world is simply a mirror. You cannot change the reflection without changing the image it reflects. If you want a new reality, you must draw a new blueprint. And that blueprint is imagination. Let's say you want wealth. Don't imagine the idea of being wealthy someday. Imagine yourself now, wealthy, free, relaxed. How do you dress? What do you feel as you wake up in the morning? What kind of choices do you make from this new state? Most importantly, how does your self-talk change? Your task is to embody that state so vividly, so naturally, that your subconscious begins to accept it as real. Because once it does, your life must change to match. Imagination, when used persistently and faithfully, will override logic, time, and circumstance. This is not delusion, it is creation. Your assumptions, no matter how subtle, hold the blueprint. Even if you are surrounded by limitations now, your imagination can free you instantly. Not because the world changes overnight, but because your perception shifts. And once you see yourself differently, you cannot act the same. You move differently, you speak with a new energy, and the world, as it always does, bends to follow. This is why it is said that you do not get what you want, you get what you are. And what you are is nothing more than the sum of your most dominant assumptions and imaginations. If you want to know what you've been imagining, look at your life. Your current world is the evidence of your past thoughts, beliefs, and emotional states. If you don't like it, you don't have to fight it. Just go within and imagine something better, something true to your heart. In every moment, you are choosing a version of yourself to embody. Choose wisely. Choose the one that already has what you desire. Talk to yourself as that version. Walk as that version. Think from that version, not about it, from it. When you consistently dwell in that inner state, the world must follow. It has no will of its own. It only reflects what you imagine to be true. So do not underestimate the power of your inner world. Treat your imagination with reverence. Nurture it, guard it, live from it. Because what you imagine, you become. Everything you are experiencing right now, the circumstances, the people, the finances, the opportunities, or the lack of them, is not a reflection of who you are in this moment. It is a reflection of who you used to believe yourself to be. Reality does not operate on instant reaction. It unfolds with a delay. Like the echo of a voice in a canyon, your life today is the reverberation of thoughts, assumptions, and emotions you held yesterday, last week, last year. You are living in a world that was shaped by your old beliefs. Most people look at their present conditions and assume they are permanent or inevitable. They make conclusions like, "This is just how life is," or "Some people are lucky and some aren't." But what they fail to realize is that the very act of accepting those ideas as true is what caused the condition to harden into fact. The outside world is always a delayed response to the inner world. Your beliefs are not passive thoughts floating in your mind. They are energetic commands, creating structure out of potential, giving form to what was formless. So when you look around and see lack, difficulty, or stagnation, understand that you are not being punished and you are not broken. You are simply witnessing the residue of former beliefs that were once accepted, repeated, and emotionally charged. whether it was told to you by others, absorbed through experiences, or self-created through fear and doubt, it doesn't matter. If you accepted it as true, even unconsciously, it began to take shape in your world. But here's the empowering truth. If your current reality is the result of old beliefs, then new beliefs will create a new reality. You are never stuck. You are never finished. You are only ever living out the scenes created by the last script you handed over to your subconscious. And you can rewrite the script right now. The process begins with awareness. You must first notice what you have been believing. What stories have you been telling yourself about money, love, success, or worth? What identities have you assumed? The struggler, the unlucky one, the overlooked, the one who never gets chosen. These are not facts, they are beliefs, and every belief is subject to change. You don't need to fight your current reality or struggle against it. You simply need to rise above it in consciousness. Begin to assume something new. If you want wealth, begin to believe that abundance is natural, easy, and flowing. If you want love, begin to believe that you are worthy of deep, lasting connection. If you want success, believe that your presence is valuable, that your steps are guided, and that life favors you. You create these new beliefs are not empty affirmations, they are seeds. And just like any seed, they take time to grow, but grow they must if you persist. As you change your inner assumptions, the outer world must realign. People will change how they treat you, opportunities will arise, circumstances will bend to your new state. Why? Because your belief is the instruction and reality obeys. It may not happen instantly, but it will happen inevitably. The world cannot resist the force of a belief held with conviction and repeated with emotion. That is the real secret. Feel it as true now and give no attention to the illusion of delay. The shadow always trails the object. Your world will catch up. So do not be discouraged by what you see today. It is old news. If you want something new, believe something new. Your current reality is not your destiny. It is only your echo. Shift the cause within, and the effect will surely follow. The true secret of creating the life you desire does not begin with effort, action, or waiting for signs in the external world. It begins in the unseen, silent chamber of your own consciousness, in feeling. The world is not moved by your wish, your want, or your effort. It is moved by your feeling. When you live from the inner experience of already having what you desire, whether it be wealth, freedom, love, or peace, the outer world must take shape to reflect that internal state. This is not philosophy, it is law. Most people are taught to wait for the evidence before they celebrate. They wait for money to feel abundant, for a relationship to feel loved, for the job to feel valuable, but that order is reversed. You do not feel abundance because the money arrives. The money arrives because you dwell in the feeling of abundance. You do not feel loved because someone chooses you. Someone chooses you because you radiate the feeling of already being loved. Feeling is the key to the subconscious, and the subconscious is what creates reality. It does not reason. It does not question. It simply accepts the feelings you consistently live in and then begins to mold your life accordingly. So if you want change, you must first enter the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not someday, not in the future, but now, as though it were already true. Think of this inner feeling as a magnetic field. It attracts to you the people, the events, the ideas, and the resources that match it. If you feel poor, worried, or frustrated, no matter what you say or do, the world will reflect that vibration. You may struggle, push, or even get temporary results, but they will collapse because your emotional baseline was not in harmony with the result. But when you align with the emotion of the end result, everything begins to shift, and it happens without strain. To feel it first means you bypass logic. You do not ask, how will it happen, or when will it come? You step into the inner scene with full acceptance as though it were happening now. You imagine yourself living the result, seeing through your own eyes, hearing with your own ears, touching with your own hands. You bring the senses into the scene and generate the emotion that matches the desire. And once that feeling is real within you, once it becomes natural and familiar, it begins to externalize. You may receive a phone call, meet someone by chance, stumble across an idea, or make a spontaneous decision, all leading to the result you first felt. That's how the universe works. It follows your inner state, not your outer effort. But you must remain faithful. Doubt is the assassin of manifestation. If you keep checking the world to see if it's working, you pull yourself out of the state. You go back into lack, and the mirror reflects that. The mirror never lies, but it also never moves first. You must feel it real before it becomes real. This is the art of creation. It is not about faking it. It is about dwelling in the truth of your desired state until it becomes your identity. When you feel peace before the storm calms, the storm fades. When you feel wealth while the bank account is empty, the funds begin to flow. When you feel loved without needing proof, love arrives. Feeling it first is not pretending, it is choosing. You are choosing to align with a deeper reality, a higher version of yourself that already exists. And once you make that inner alignment, the world has no choice but to reflect it. The outer follows the inner, always. So begin now. Enter the feeling of your fulfilled desire, not with strain, but with joy, not with waiting, but with certainty. Because the moment you feel it, you have set creation in motion. The rest is simply the unfolding of what is already done. Whether you realize it or not, you are manifesting every second of your life. It is not something you start and stop. It is not a special practice reserved for quiet moments or vision boards. Manifestation is constant. It is the very nature of being conscious. Every thought you allow, every emotion you nurture, every belief you hold, these are the building blocks of your external reality. You are always creating, always selecting states of consciousness that shape the world around you. What you focus on internally becomes your experience externally. Not because life is rewarding or punishing you, but because it is neutral, it simply reflects the state you most often occupy. If you live in a mindset of waiting, of one day, or maybe someday, then you remain in a loop of delay. You are not just experiencing lack, you are perpetuating it, energizing it, keeping it alive by your attention. The state you dwell in determines what the world must mirror back. This is why some people, despite hard work and talent, seem to go in circles, not because they aren't capable, but because inwardly they still identify with struggle, with being overlooked, with barely getting by. Their efforts are real, but the state they manifest from keeps recreating the same outcomes. It isn't the action that creates, it's the consciousness behind the action. Now consider this, you can choose a different state at any moment. You can begin right now to dwell in abundance, ease, and wholeness, not as a fantasy, but as a reality felt internally. And the moment you shift your inner atmosphere, the outer world must follow. It might not happen in an instant, but it will happen, because the state you live in becomes the filter through which all of life responds. Manifestation is not magic, it is law. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. And what you are is defined by the state you accept as true. If you walk through your day identifying with lack, you vibrate with it, you notice what you don't have, you compare, you complain, you wait for change, and in doing so you delay it. But if you walk through the same day identifying with abundance, your perception shifts. You notice opportunities, you radiate confidence, you move with a calm expectation, and life starts arranging itself around your energy. You don't have to force this process, you only need to become aware of where your consciousness is dwelling. Are you thinking from your desire or about it? Are you embodying the energy of someone who has or someone who hopes? Hope can be deceptive. It seems positive, but it often hides the vibration of doubt. Faith, on the other hand, is alive. It assumes the desire is already fulfilled. To manifest consciously is to wake up to your creative power, is to stop living on autopilot, reacting to circumstances and waiting for proof before believing. It's realizing that the state you choose is more powerful than the facts you face. Facts can change, circumstances can shift, but the state, the inner vibration, that's what causes movement. When you dwell in abundance, abundance must come, not always through the channel you expect, but in ways that match the energy you send out. New doors open, old blocks dissolve, people appear, ideas spark. Because your energy is no longer saying, I need, but I already am. So the question is never, am I manifesting? The real question is, what am I manifesting and from what state? Choose consciously. Assume wisely. Because every moment you are shaping your world. Whether you do it by default or by design, that is your decision. In a world that constantly glorifies effort, hustle, and struggle, it may sound radical to say that assumption is more powerful than effort. Yet this is one of the greatest truths about reality. It's not how hard you work that determines what you receive. It's how completely and naturally you assume the state of already having it. The outer world responds not to your effort, but to your conviction. The one who assumes the end with confidence and persistency will always surpass the one who tries to force it through endless effort alone. This isn't to say that action has no place. Action will come. But it comes naturally, as an outflow of the state you've assumed. When you believe that you are already the person who has what they desire, you behave in ways that align with that belief. You make decisions from a place of knowing, not hoping. You speak differently, carry yourself differently, and engage with the world differently, not because you are trying to make it happen, but because you've already accepted that it is done. Assumption is a quiet inner decision. It's the unseen agreement between you and your vision. It says, this is who I am now. And once you declare that inwardly, the outer world must eventually catch up. Circumstances will bend, people will shift, resources will be drawn in, not because you chased them, but because you magnetize them through identity. Think of it like this. The world is a mirror, but the mirror cannot reflect anything unless there is an image to reflect. Your assumption is the image. If you continue to assume lack, struggle, or waiting, that is what the mirror will faithfully return. But if you hold fast to the image of fulfillment, if you persist in assuming that your desire is already yours, the mirror must eventually reflect that reality. Many people make the mistake of trying to manifest by willpower and action alone. They chase, hustle, beg, and overthink. But all this effort, if it comes from a place of not having, only reinforces the state of lack. They're trying to get something because they believe they don't yet have it. And that belief blocks the very thing they seek. The key is to act from the belief that it is already done. This is not arrogance or fantasy. It's alignment. Assume the state of your wish fulfilled. Don't wait for evidence. Don't look to the outer world for permission. Become internally anchored in the feeling that it is already true. Let it become your emotional home. Walk as that person, think as that person, sleep as that person, speak as that person, and persist even when nothing seems to be happening. Because assumption works beneath the surface. The moment you assume something new, the universe begins to rearrange. sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, but always with precision. The right people, opportunities, and ideas begin moving toward you, not because you forced them, but because your new state made them inevitable. This is how the law operates. The world moves not by brute force, but by vibration, and your assumption is your vibration. It broadcasts what you believe to be true, and reality simply follows your lead. So release the stress of trying harder. Instead, focus on assuming better. Get clear about what you desire and then ask yourself, what would it feel like if I already had it? Live from that answer. Let that feeling guide your actions, inform your words, and fuel your imagination. Trust the unseen process, and don't look for signs of progress. Your assumption is the cause, the world is the effect. Persist in the assumption, let it grow roots, and watch. As the means, the people, the resources, and the right timing unfold effortlessly, not because you chased the dream, but because you became it. There is a hidden doorway that leads directly to the life you desire. It's not outside you and it's not locked. In fact, it has always been open, but it opens inward. That door is entered by the way you live internally. The secret is to begin living as if what you desire is already yours, not in pretense, not in forced visualization, but in a sincere inner knowing that who you want to be and what you want to have already exists within you and is expressing itself now. When you act, speak, and think from the version of yourself who already has millions, or peace, or love, or freedom, you establish an energetic agreement with that future. You are no longer reaching for it, chasing it, or waiting for permission. You have aligned yourself with it. You have claimed it as your present reality, and the universe responds to that claim with precision and order. This concept confuses many people because we are trained to respond to what we see, to base our actions on what is real. But here is the deeper truth. What you currently see is simply a reflection of the past. Past beliefs, past emotions, past states of being. If you want a new reality, you must not wait for the mirror to change first. You must change the image within. And the way you do that is by embodying the state of already having your desire. Living as if does not mean faking or pretending. It means assuming the emotional tone, the thoughts, the behaviors, and the choices of someone who is already where you want to be. If you had millions right now, how would you feel? How would you walk into a room? What would your energy be like? Would you speak differently? Would you hold back your joy? Would you apologize for your presence? Of course not. You would be grounded, generous, expansive, and completely certain of your worth. That version of you already exists within you. It's just waiting to be claimed. You don't need to see the money first to feel like a wealthy person. You feel like a wealthy person first, and then the money begins to appear. It's not about the outer symbols of success. It's about becoming aligned with the vibration of that success before it becomes visible. And when you do, the world will begin to arrange itself to match your new internal standard. This is not fantasy, this is creation. It is spiritual law. Your inner state is always being projected onto the screen of the world. If you continue to think from lack, fear, or waiting, the world will mirror that back to you. But if you move into the feeling of already being the person who has, who is, who knows, then the world must conform, not because you're forcing it, but because you've stepped through the door. And that door is invisible. It is internal. No one can open it for you. It doesn't swing outward with effort. It opens inward with identity. The moment you stop looking outside for proof and begin to live from the end, you begin to walk in the power of your future, and the future rushes to meet you. This way of being is powerful because it removes the need to chase. You are no longer hoping for your dream, you are being it. You are no longer striving for success, you are embodying it. And as you consistently live as if it's already done, your actions become aligned, your words become magnetic, and your energy becomes undeniable. So let the world reflect what you've already decided within. Don't knock on the door hoping someone will open it. Realize that you are the one who holds the key. And the key is your inner state. Live as if your millions are already yours, and you'll discover the door was never locked, it only waited for you to walk through. When you live from the end, when you think, speak, and feel as though your desire is already fulfilled, you align yourself with the highest creative force in existence. You no longer chase, you no longer doubt, you become. And from that state, everything you need flows to you naturally, without strain or force. Remember, the world does not respond to your effort. It responds to your assumption. Shift your state, and the entire world must shift with you. Live as if your millions are already yours, and soon they will no longer be a dream. They will be your reality. Say thanks. Thank you for listening, for believing, and most of all, for choosing to step into the powerful creator that you truly are. Everything you seek is already within. Now, go live it. Boldly, fully, and as if it's already done.